Here's the equipment you will need to make your Casein paints. Here's a glass muller, a little under $100. A glass plate. I made mine from an 11 by 14 stretched canvas, and a picture frame glass taped to it. And you'll need a palette knife. I also use a painting knife for scraping, but the palette knife is the big workhorse, and it'll cost about $40. Next, you will need to have a Casein emulsion, and this is made by Richardson, comes in 2 volumes. Casein is a glue binder made from milk, so basically a milk glue. You'll also need something to put your paints in. These are plastic containers. They come in various sizes. I get mine from a reputable art supply. Here, Blick sells them, but they're made by Richardson, and they come with a double liner in the cap, and they keep your paints real moist. You'll also need, you can also put them in an aluminum tube, and they fill from the bottom, and they hold about 2 ounces of paint, and you can buy them in smaller sizes too. I like to paint on my tubes sometimes, or I'll just write with a Sharpie. You'll also need something to measure dry and wet ingredients, and I like the open oval spoons. Droppers don't work well because the Casein glue is real honey-like and viscous. You'll also need a spray bottle with a real fine mist, something that isn't too heavy. You can make your own labels. I write on watercolor paper and then tape it on, or you can also write it on with a Sharpie. And here is an early way I did it, but if your pigment is dark, you'll want to do the white labels and then write down later what your color is. You'll want to put your recipes in an organized file of some sort. I'm using strips of watercolor paper, 90 to 140 pound stock, and they hold up to the heaviness of the paint, and hold it with a stitch holder. Put a hole punch on the backs. When I write down my recipes, I try to be consistent, and I put the maker of the pigment, and I start by adding how much pigment I'm going to use and the amount of water or other liquid to make the paste, and finally the emulsion that I ended up using. Some of the pigments absorb differently, so each pigment really needs to have its own recipe, and it takes a little experimenting. Sometimes I might end up having to add a little extra pigment, and I just write it down during the process. So I add it in small increments so that I can gradually add it in.